Alrighty. So this is my media project. My name is Yehuda Roche or Huda. Um, and yeah. Oh, why is it in this weird view? Okay, there we go. So the introduction. The purpose of this project is to present how gender roles, stereotyping, gender inequality, gender norms are currently depicted in society through TV shows. The two media sources that I will be comparing are both from Netflix. They're called The Office, and then the next one is called Parks and Recreation. They're two very distinctive comedies that I enjoyed comparing because they're similar but different. And comparing these two Netflix shows allows someone to clearly see the gender roles that are expected and portrayed between men and women. For my first article, my literature review. The title of it is A Short-Term Longitudinal Exploration of the Impact of TV Exposure on Objectifying Attitudes Toward Women in Early Adolescent Boys. So I decided to go with this one because I felt like it related to what I'm doing right now and trying to show how TV shows can objectify women and degrade them in some TV shows. So for instance, they experimented with Belgian boys and girls. The intervals were set every 6 months, where they had to answer surveys, and in between those 6 months, they would have the kids watch music TV like MTV. They would have them watch tween TV, which is kind of like Vampire Diaries or really like any teen show that's out there. And the research and the results they received highlighted the role that TV has in shaping a child's thought process on gender attitudes towards many things, um, and gender stereotypes, and how they view how people view women, men, and yeah. Next one is a says all television shows express a gender stereotype, whether it being through how the cast looks, what people say, where, how they talk. There are many factors that can contribute to gender socialization when it comes to television. So these two authors, they really focused on this show called Dawson's Creek, and their aim was to show people that television programs targeted at young people have a significant role in the process of the making of young people's identities and how they view genders. They looked at teen shows. So the show that they looked at called Dawson's Creek, they focused on sex, age, race, physical build, clothes, sexual appearance, social class, type of family, etc. They focused on all that when it came to the cast of the show. And based on the builds of the characters, they found that all the female characters were thin, while the male characters were either muscular, well built, or even fat. Um, it shows that the representation of thin bodies is more associated with female bodies, while males don't really have an association. They're trying to say like females have to look this way in order to look good or to get guys, or that's how they're portrayed, which is not the case. But that's what television shows do because that's what people want to see. They concluded that through the analysis of television programs, you can discover aspects of gender representation that teens around the world try to follow each day. All right, so for my first show from Netflix is The Office. Its main audience is people in high school to people in their 40s. It's a really very comedical show. A lot of people enjoy it. The men in the character roles. So you have Michael Scott, who's the main character. He makes a whole lot of "that's what she said" jokes, and that's really anytime somebody makes a "that's what she said" joke, it's usually in the context of somebody just said something that sounded sexual, so you say "that's what she said." And he makes a lot of those jokes, so it's very sexually objectifying to women, I think. And in the earlier seasons, he had a crazy girlfriend named Jan. They broke up. He swore that they would never get back together, but she got breast implants and visited him at the office, and he got back together with her in 5 minutes. So that tells me that he sees her more as an object rather than for who she is and the love that she can give, um, even though she's crazy. Um, Constantly makes jokes that degrades women with his friend Todd Packer. Um, in one of the episodes, they're talking about an employee having sex with a female secretary. Todd refers to the women as a blonde incompetent, what to which Michael replies, to be fair, blondes, brunettes, there are a lot of dumb people out there. And Todd replies, they are women, right? So that's obviously um, gonna, if you're young, that's really gonna put an image in your head that women are seen as dumb or inferior to men. Um, So yeah, Michael is the boss of the office. He does have a woman receptionist, um, one woman, and then he also has only one woman that's a salesperson versus the other four people that are all men that sell paper. So kind of saying that a woman can't do a salesperson job. Males working in the warehouse handling all the heavy stuff. No women in the warehouse. One episode, he had a basketball game, and Michael didn't allow any of the women to play. Instead, he told Pam to be a cheerleader. Um, the only thing the women are bosses at is the parting planning committee. And an instance in which this show defied the gender stereotypes is when a woman CEO bought out the paper company, which is defying it because you typically don't see women in a CEO position or buying companies. You usually see males. So that's one way they defied it. Um, Another way they defied it is Jan, who was Michael's boss in the earlier seasons. Um, she was Michael's boss in the earlier seasons. She was the head person. And then Dwight, he believes women are inferior so much that he can't do a sales pitch to a woman. In one of the episodes, he literally said was trying to act out a sales pitch to a woman because they were trying to teach him, and he literally said, "I will tell you what you need. I will tell you how much. I will tell you this, that," and he just believes he's that much superior than a woman, and that's really putting into the minds of whether you're a really young kid or really at any age that women are inferior. It's creating that gender stereotype that men um, are above women. So the communication and power in the show, the relationships between the characters is really diverse, and everybody has their unique personalities. Jim and Pam share a love story. Jim and Dwight are enemies, but they're really best friends because Jim always picks on them. And there is a gender-related power structure between Michael, who's the boss, and Pam, who's a receptionist, but they portray a good relationship. And sometimes Michael asks her to do unnecessary things. He flirts with her, but they are each other's best friends. And what I mean by unnecessary things is one of the episodes, they all went on a retreat to an island. And he had, instead of letting Pam play all the games, he had her write down notes on everybody that was playing the games for no reason. So you can see that as a way of um, portraying a sex role or gender stereotype because a woman is under him, so he's telling her to do something. Female and male characters often do get along unless Dwight tries to act superior because he craves authority over all of his co-workers, not just the females. They all have their bickering moments, but it's never serious enough to end a relationship. All right, so when Parks and Recs, which is also on Netflix, Parks and Recreation, Parks and Rec for short. The main audience is adults ranging from their 20s to 40s. This show is about government, so it may not interest younger adults, depending on what they like. So the character roles: Leslie Knope, who's played by Amy Poehler, is the main character, and she is a woman. She works in the Parks and Recreation Department of the government, which is already defying a gender stereotype because typically you don't see women um, working in the government. Um, she enjoys helping her community. I guess that's kind of like a stereotype because people typically see women as being very helpful, nurturing, So she does enjoy helping her community. I guess that could be a gender stereotype in a way. She works under Ron Swanson, who is the head of the Parks and Recreation Department. It's stereotypical because she is the one who does all the work, but Ron gets all the credit for it. Um, when she becomes a councilwoman, she receives a lot of criticism and is undermined because she is a woman on the council, but she didn't let that stop her. So that's another way she defied gender norms, gender stereotypes, um, just gender discrimination. Eventually becomes the director of the Parks and Recreation Department for the entire region, then becomes a governor of Indiana and serves 2 terms. She defies many gender stereotypes that are thought of women, and it brings about a sense of gender equality because you typically see men in those positions, but to see her is saying that women can do it too. So gender equality. It's positive because it brings about a sense of gender equality and showing women that they're capable of great things instead of watching a typical show like The Office that shows women in a position of inferiority or degradation. So the connection and power, the relationships between the characters, they all cooperate to reach a destination. They all band together, even when not everybody agrees with things. They still get together and reach that common goal. There's a gender-related power structure between Ron and Leslie, but it is a good one. He gives her, or she goes to him with work, and he usually approves of it because he knows that she's good. And at the end of the day, they are best friends, and they share a really good relationship. And female and male characters do generally cooperate with each other. There is a little bickering here and then, but at the end of the day, they get what they're supposed to do done, and they all love each other. So the conclusion between the two television shows, if you were to watch The Office, it focuses more on comedy and um, by using degrading comments and actions to get the audience to laugh, while Parks and Recreation uses its distinctive comedy for social change. Characters from The Office tend to emulate depictions of roles and gender and stereotypes of gender, while characters from Parks and Recreation tend to defy them. Um, I would not want my children to learn about sex roles from The Office, but I wouldn't mind if they learned from Parks and Recreation because the focus is more on gender equality. I wouldn't want my kid growing up thinking that it's okay to think they're superior to anyone. Everybody should be equal. So what I found interesting about the research was that a comedical show like Parks and Recreation could portray something as big as gender equality while keeping the show funny, but still getting the message across because typically you don't see that in shows. It's hard to get an underlying message out there while joking around. So that's what I found interesting. And those are my references. And thank you very much for listening. I hope I did good. Please, I need an A. How do I end this? How do I go up here?